There we go. Right. And then you can begin sitting comfortably, whatever that is for you. Yeah, letting the spine be nice and long. Maybe letting the eyes close or be soft, and we'll just start to breathe. Slow down the breath a little bit. I think I need a pillow. Legs. Kind of slow down and lengthen our breath. Come inside and be aware of our breath, how we're feeling in our body. Noticing if there's any tension or tight spots that we might want to breathe into. And also if any sound wants to come out with on the exhale, of course, just it helps us release, relax. Relaxing the belly and the shoulders. Jaw, the tongue, brow. Oh. You might let there be a little pause between the exhale and the inhale. Hang out in that liminal space for a moment before we inhale. And then we'll bring our hands, our fingertips up around our heart, our chest area, and just gently tap the heart and the thymus. Keep your eyes closed if you want, or just letting yourself relax here, bringing our sense of our heart into the picture, stimulating our immune system. All around the collarbone. Then maybe bringing our hands up to our head and doing a little massage of our scalp. Wake up our head, all those channels that run through our scalp. Maybe the temples need a little rubbing. Anywhere that feels good. Right? We can bring our hands to our ears and do a little massaging and manipulating of our ears so we can wake up all the points in there and our vagus nerve. Pulling gently. We can put our fingers inside the ear, gently pull down, just kind of a hold for a breath or two. Noticing how that feels, calms. Then we'll bring our arms out from our shoulders and let our spine have a little movement by reaching forward and pulling the spine back, opening the back up, and then bringing our arms behind us and maybe a little squeeze as we open the chest and the front of our body. And then flapping our wings back and forth as we breathe. The spine gets some movement. So important to attend to the spine. well as a little stretch for the shoulders. And then go ahead and let your arms relax by your side. And we'll start in deer pose. Okay, so you might have a bolster or a pillow or something you want it for underneath your chest. Bring the left leg forward, and we can just fold our right leg back like this if it will. I have to hold on to mine. Starting by just kind of bringing that left leg a little bit away from us, like a deer, letting the hip relax and feeling that internal rotation in that right hip. Just letting that. So you're noticing if our sits bones are all the way down, right? We want to scooch our leg a little farther out, and then we'll bring our left hand a little bit behind us, and we'll lengthen and spiral back with our hands on the ground. So just kind of starting to come into our twist and breathing here with our arms straight. And then however you like to do it, you can gradually come onto your elbows and then all the way down so that you're resting your forehead on your hands. Right. Staying in any of those variations long as it feels good to you. Allowing our breath to bring us more into the twist gradually. A spirally twist. If you like, if you're all the way on the ground, you also put something underneath you for the shoulders if you need. You can stick a pillow or a bolster underneath the chest, all the way down on the hand, if that helps your shoulders. And then any little adjustments that your body wants to make. You might find as we continue to breathe into the twist and lower down that we sink a little deeper into the ground with our arms and our chest. And of course, as always, anytime your body doesn't want to do a particular pose or you don't feel like a particular pose that we're doing, you can just do something else or something similar. Just find another variation that works better for you, or as long as it's yin, a yin type pose, we're good. you are all the way down on the floor on top of your hands, you might start to wind your way back up, back through. Then we'll eventually bring ourselves around to face forward with our hips down as far as they'll go on the mat. And I'll just take a breath. And then bringing our right leg forward, left leg forward. You can just do a little movement, maybe a little windshield wiper with our legs. That feels good to your legs. And then we'll come on to the other side. So with our right leg in front, left leg folded back, that's doable. Bring that right leg a little farther out and then that bend, finding our hip, internal rotation of the left hip, just noticing and then seeing if the sits bones are all the way down and maybe you want to scooch the leg farther. Internal rotation. I find that internal rotation feels really good to my hips if it's not holding it for too long. And then we'll start to spiral back to the right so we can lengthen and start to twist back on our arms, straight arms to start with, and making our way down at your own pace to lying on your hands, forehead on your hands, or any of the variations. Feels right to you. Stay in them as long as it feels good to you. You might like staying upright. You might like staying on your elbows. Your pose particularly good stretch for our spleen and gallbladder, and nourishing for the spleen and gallbladder and stomach. The stretch through the side body, and massaging our organs inside. So we're laying on our hands. It's a nice stretch for underneath the shoulders and arms. Well, or all the way down on the hands, laying down. You might start to gradually make your way back around. So our time coming back around. Just breathe in each phase of our deer. Finding that we might have a little deeper twist on the way back. And we'll eventually come around to sitting forward. Again, just letting the hips relax for a breath here. Bring our equilibrium back to, after twisting all that time. And then bringing the left leg forward. We can you might choose to come into a long-legged butterfly or a dragonfly pose with the legs in a straddle. Just whichever one works best for you or that you prefer, right? And just kind of come forward here. So if you want to bring the feet together in a long-legged butterfly or just stay in the straddle, just relax forward. The gravity press forward toward the ground. Open the hips a little more. Might like it. Our spine gets a little stretched by rounding forward, letting the head drop, feeling a nice stretch through our spine. Think of our spine almost as an antenna for our body. I think the spine is does more than we realize it does. And it's particularly important to bring the space between the vertebra and really allow that opening through the whole spine as much as possible. So letting the fluid move through the spine. We know that the spine is a key to longevity, and that's why Pilates was originally started. One of the reasons for Pilates was that it was about the spine. And it's definitely a lot of importance for our life on the planet. Of course, we can think of our head as being a part of that spine, right? It's all the way from top to the tail. And then we'll walk ourselves up gradually using our hands. Sitting. And go ahead and bring the legs together out in front of you and move them around. Give them a little shake or whatever feels good. And we'll just come into a caterpillar for a little while. So bringing the pelvis forward and just relaxing forward over the legs. You might like having a pillow on top of your legs, or you might like to flex your feet and hold on to your toes, just pulling on the underneath of our shoulders for that little bit of stretch there. That kitty cat that I was taking care of, can't even believe it was just last Sunday, that he went home after getting 4 mice for me. And then I realized that I needed a mouser. And my last cat, Jake, he wasn't very good at that. He wasn't his forte, wasn't in his wheelhouse, you could say. But I went to the Humane Society over in New Hampshire that had some good mousers. And I ended up with a cat that is called Spirit Cat, which I had never heard of before. It's a female. She's 4 this month, actually. And Spirit Cat is a cat that doesn't really want to be around people. So they're not feral, but they're not, they might be used to other cats, being around other cats, but they don't do well around people. So she's still in the back room and she hasn't come out of hiding. Well, with me there, she'll come out and eat at night and use the litter box, but still haven't seen her since I brought her home and let her out of the crate. So it might take a while. I just go in there and talk to her and sing to her and just do that frequently. So maybe she'll get used to me and let me eventually pet her, and she might bond. We might actually bond. They can bond with a person if you're really patient with them. Let's see how that goes over time. And hopefully she'll eventually start catching mice. Okay, so let's go ahead and slowly come up from there and bring the hands behind us, lean back, move the legs. You might like to, windshield wiper or shake them out, whatever feels good. And we might also bring our hips up and down a few times and give a little bit of movement that way. And then we'll come onto our belly for Sphinx. So you can have a pillow or a folded up blanket or anything that you might like to have. And we'll bring our elbows under our shoulders, and however close together or far apart or out in front, just let your hips kind of move side to side, rock the body a little bit to get used to this little back bend. like to let our head hang, or we might lift it up and get a little stretch in the front of our neck and chest, a little compression in the back of the neck. Feels good to your body, and anything else that moving or the head around or feels good to the neck and head. Might want to lift the legs and add a little more stretch and compression to the Sphinx. Whatever your body feels like doing. Take a rest if you need to, come out of it if you need to. You could also come into a half frog if you want by just bringing one knee up and letting that hip open a little bit more. If you'd like to do a little more hip opening in Sphinx. Another variation. I like to add a little bit of half frog to open my hips for just a little bit of time. Really active hip opener. Oh, we'll go ahead and take a little break in half frog on the left. And we'll take our right arm, sliding it through underneath left arm, right? And just get add a little bit of a shoulder stretch there. Want to do that? Lay down on your hand. That leg can be wherever you like it, knee higher, lower, leg straighter. Go ahead and slide the leg back down and draw our right arm back to Sphinx or seal. Come into seal, we can straighten the arms, or you might like to put something under your arms to increase the back bend, or something under the pelvis to help you in seal. Right. course, coming in and out of any of the variations feels right for the body, and making sure we can breathe evenly, fully. When I met my kitty at the Humane Society, she was in a box, in a wooden box with another cat that had, a big hole, a big slat that you can look into that was several inches wide, so I could see her. But I think she was hiding, and she looked at me. She looked into my eyes, and it was like this wild look, looking into a wild animal's eyes. And she did not look away. So I just talked to her. There were a few other cats in the room, big room. And I just talked to her and kept looking at her. Told her that she was coming home with me and all that. And yeah, and I even sat next to the box, and she still looked at me, my eyes. Maybe she was pleading to get out. I don't know. But it was a pretty wild look. And that was, after that, she was hiding under a blanket in the crate. So that was our only time to really spend together, seeing each other. I have a feeling she'll eventually come out, because she was owned by a person. She was somebody's cat before, so she was used to being with somebody for however many years, like probably her whole life. And so I have a feeling that she will eventually come around. So if you are up in Sphinx, you might want to start to make your way down gradually. Main seal, and come down gradually to Sphinx. Then we can do a half frog on the right, sliding our left, maybe slide that left arm through, and resting head on the hand. Okay, we can slide that right leg down and start to bring ourselves up onto our knees, fours. Oh, just start to move the spine, just gradually, gently, your tailbone drop, rounding, letting the head relax, and maybe you like to sit back toward the heels. Draw the torso up and come into an arch. Slowly moving the spine back and forth. And that arch around. We can circle the hips and let our body go and spirally movement here. Just let everything go where it wants to. Releasing and relaxing the rib cage, maybe the head, neck. And then going the other direction. Good. And then we'll sit back into a child's pose like we do, a nice nourishing child's pose here with either the legs together or legs apart. Whatever feels good to you. Feet together, feet apart. We can start to come out of our protective child's pose and bring ourselves around onto our back. So around to our back and maybe hugging our knees and getting used to this orientation, relaxing the body. And let's bring our legs straight on the mat, all the way down, and our arms over our head. We'll do a little Bananasana with our arms and legs together, so we can walk our legs over to the right. Start with and kind of finding how far we can go without our hip coming off the mat. And then bending to the right. Seeing how far we can go. Our shoulders staying all the way on the mat. Start with this, maybe a little gentle side bend and might increase as you go. And if your left arm needs to be in a different place, feel free to just put it somewhere else for that shoulder. Whatever's comfortable for your shoulder. You need to move your left arm. Letting our spine bend laterally, opening up that left rib cage, getting a stretch through all those little muscles in there. Making sure the hips and the shoulders stay down all the way. You can also cross the left ankle over the right if you'd like to increase stretch through that leg and side and the side of the hip. Okay, let's start to come back to straight, gradually walking the feet back and unbending our torso. You might give your arms a break from being overhead if you want to kind of bring them down by your side. And then we'll go to the other side, walking feet to the legs over to the left and torso bending over to the left. And you can change the position of your right arm if that shoulder needs help. And just opening up the right side of our body. So keeping the hips and shoulders on the ground. It's a really good opportunity to expand our lung capacity a little bit as well. Breathing into that lung on that side more. Breath is so important. Breathing fully is so important to the health of everything in our body, including our blood. The blood needs purifying, and that happens through really healthy breathing. You can do breath of fire to cleanse the blood, or just breathing fully and deeply and being aware of that. And help to cleanse and purify our blood. Of course, you can cross your right ankle on top of your left too if you want to add a little more stretch there. That right leg. Air is really heavy here to the humidity level. We're having a lot of humid weather lately, and it almost like requires heavier, deeper breathing just to just to breathe, because the air is like heavy with moisture. Notice that I have to breathe more intently, more deeply on purpose. Okay, we'll start to slowly bring ourselves back to straight, walking the feet, unbending the torso, bringing the arms down and bending the knees to bring our feet on the ground. Let's hug our knees in towards our chest. Again, move the body a bit. Like to curl up into a ball. Well, and then we'll come into call the Supine Swan, a figure 4, crossing the right leg on top of the left. So Supine Swan is basically a figure 4, right? And we're going to reach through, grab hold of our left leg behind the thigh or under the knee, wherever you like to hold on, and just kind of maybe press gently with the right elbow into the right leg if you want to. Add a little more opening there. You can also curl up and pull the leg in closer if that feels good to you. Releasing our leg. We'll bring our arms out from our shoulders. Bring the left foot down and go ahead and sway the legs over to the left so that right foot comes all the way onto the ground and the knee points up. And turn the head whichever way it wants to go. Maybe looking toward the right or a nice stretch through our right side and hip, front of the hip, side of the hip area. Then we'll lift our legs up and maybe center the hips if you need to. Let them sway over to the right so that right knee comes toward the ground. You can also have a pillow or something under your leg if you want to let it totally relax there, because the knee probably won't go all the way to the ground. Well, it might be that flexible, but just breathe into this twist. So feeling that stretch through the front of our left hip flexors. Okay, we can lift the legs back to the top and bring the arms down and uncross the right leg, and we'll switch to left leg crossed over the right. Reach through and grab hold of the leg wherever you like. You might like to curl up and kind of pull the legs in towards you or increase that stretch to And then we'll let our right foot come down to the ground, and arms can come out from the shoulders, swaying the knees over to the legs over to the right. So the foot comes all the way down, keeping our left shoulder on the ground. Left knee points upward. Let the head go to either side or wherever to go. And we can lift our legs up and let them sway over to the left so that knee comes toward the ground, and maybe a pillow underneath it if you want to give it a little support so your legs can relax. Go ahead and move the legs slowly back up to top and uncross the legs. You might want to hug your knees into your chest or do whatever feels good to your body to at this point to let it relax. And then we can take just a moment to integrate however you feel that works for you, whether that's laying down with your legs bent or legs straight, hugging your knees, just breathing here, fully letting the energy circulate, feeling our body, noticing our breath, noticing how we feel. Of course, thanks, gratitude to our body, gratitude to our breath, gratitude to the earth, for taking us through life, Gratitude to our spine. Feel ready to get up. You don't have to. You can continue laying there. Or get up slowly if you want. Feels good to you. Thank you for coming. I'm going to hit the record button.